and welcome to this very special interview edition of the Irish Wrestling Podcast in collaboration with BodySlamNet. My name is Mark O'Brien, and I'm joined by somebody I've been a huge fan of for a number of years. Many of you in Ireland may not be as familiar as I am with him. He's the young goat, he's a rascal, he's a music icon. He's one and only Myron Reed. Myron, how are you getting on today, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate the introduction.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Listen, as I said to you offline, the main reason I want to reach out to you for this week is you've got a huge week ahead of you. GCW, as somebody who watches far too much wrestling, as I mentioned previously, GCW is a promotion I follow heavily through Triller TV. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you've got three incredible lineup matches. Firstly, on Thursday, against Mance Warner for the GCW World Heavyweight Championship. I assume, based on you winning that, you'll then be defending it on Friday against Sydney Akeem, the former Reggie from WWE. And then following that, and as a victory lap, then on the Saturday, you'll be defending against Jack Cartwheel, somebody who's performing all over the world. He's performing on television programs and whatnot. So, how excited are you for the weekend ahead?
I'm excited, man. I'm always excited when there's gold on the line, and then the opportunity to do it in front of my hometown crowd. Not only that, man, is to wrestle one of the best high flyers in the game, Sydney, and possibly defend the GCW championship against Sydney. Because if I beat Mans, I'm definitely beating Sydney, and I'm going on the third night. Jack Cartwheel is going to get it too. But other than that, I'm excited because I'm working with three really talented competitors. So it's going to be fun, and they're all different.
They're all extremely different, and I've been amazed at what Sydney's been able to do since he joined the independent scene. Again, when you're in WWE, people, you get tired with a brush. You assume you're kind of a character more than a wrestler. I know he's got a Cirque du Soleil background, but he's been unbelievably. He's really dived in with 2 feet more so than anything. You posted on Twitter yourself recently talking about how much of an investment he's made towards GCW more than anything. What are you expecting for that match on Friday alone?
Fireworks, man. I think Friday's going to be the biggest test because I would say in my first couple of years of wrestling, I was really into doing a lot of the aerial gymnastics stuff, but once I got, maybe the last 2 years, I haven't really I kind of mixed it up a little bit, kind of balanced it out. So, I might have to dip into that side of me again Saturday or Friday, sorry. And I'm still a little nervous, a little nervous. I've been training, practicing all the old crazy stuff I used to do, and it's all looking good. But, we're going to see how that goes Friday.
For those of us in this part of the world, it's available on Triller TV, and I won't be watching it live, given could it be about 4 or 5 in the morning our time, but I'll be waking up Friday, Saturday, trying to catch up with everything. So I'm hugely excited for it. You touched on your early part of your career. You were known for, I suppose, your backyard wrestling initially when you first started out, but you kind of really made your name for yourself when you hooked up with the likes of Trey Miguel, then now Wesley and Zachary Wentz when you're in CZW. What was that like at that stage of your career? 2 tag teams come together to then become one unit, obviously known as the Rascals nowadays.
Well, honestly, it was really cool, man. We all became really close because, we shared the same bond and passion, and we all lived in this wrestle house. Yeah. And, Dez was the biggest brother of everyone, but, I'm the youngest rascal, so they were all big brothers to me. But we just built a bond. We trained. We pretty much did everything together. We're on the road, wrestling together. I mean, most of the shows we were wrestling each other or on the same team. So we were just eventually we were we're the best 4 here. Let's start a group. We're going to be untouchable. So that's kind of how
it was awesome. At that time, particularly when you were kind of wrestling with Wrestling Revolver, I was doing a bit of research for this. I'm obviously a big independent wrestling fan in this part of the world. Somebody we've been a fan of in this part of the world is Millie McKenzie for years. So obviously you beat Pete Dunne and Millie McKenzie to become the Revolver Tag Team Champions. What was that like in terms of 2 people who were, I don't know if they were under contract with WWE UK at the time, but they were soon to be with WWE anyway. What was that like, kind of becoming your tag team champion at such a young age?
Honestly, man, it was more so it was really cool. It was really cool to it's always really cool to do something like that, wrestle someone else that's not from where you're from, and just because everywhere wrestling is a little bit different, you know what I mean? Whether it be the UK, whether it be in Mexico or Canada or the United States, it's different everywhere you go. It's just a little bit different. So it's really cool to kind of learn, and once you learn from different people, you blend different stuff in your style, different things to your style or whatever. But yeah, it was a really cool experience for us, and it's cool doing the whole Freebird thing too.
Yeah.
With all of us and it being a tag team and stuff like that. So it was cool to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like, I mean, even like obviously being in the independents, you got a bit more room to maneuver and try out these things, particularly in that kind of free bird rules you touched on yourself. Like you did have a really cool
Yeah,
run. Like you just looking through the list of opponents around that stage when you were operating as a tag team or as a unit rather, like with the now defunct LAX when it's Santana and Ortiz, you faced against Shane Strickland when he was part of a tag team with Jason Cade. Like
yeah.
what was that exposure? Again, you're only in the business 2 or 3 years at this stage. What was that learning curve like? And like you're going from one night kind of being young guy thrust into the spotlight. Next thing you know, you're facing the creme de la creme of
Yeah.
the scene as such.
Honestly, it's one of those situations where it's like if you want to be one of the best wrestlers in the world
Yeah.
and you want to get that experience quickly, like that this is the way to do it. This is the way to earn that credibility. Like, those people that I got to work with that are now world champions places and are on TV and stuff like that really built the foundation for who I am today as a wrestler. So it was huge for me.
Awesome, awesome. It's funny you kind of talked about being the youngest member of the foursome at the start of this because a lot of the times, like I don't know, people who've got younger siblings, the youngest one always wants to kind of do their own thing. They want to do their own travel. They
Mhm.
want to do their own life. Their own experience. I've got a younger sister who's halfway around the world. Like this, they don't want to. They just want to
Yeah.
do their own, be their own drum type of thing. The guys obviously joined TNA now, Impact or then Impact Wrestling, and you went off to MLW. What was that like? I
Yeah.
suppose take following your own path and just not taking the previous route that you've been being part of that unit and then going off to MLW and coming up with huge success in your own right.
It's funny that you pretty much said that because like it's like pretty much exactly that. Whenever I seen all of those guys getting signed to TNA, and it was just happening one after the other, and they were killing things. And I was just like, man, I don't want to get lost in the shuffle. I want to be my own man. I want to go somewhere and shine myself and see if I can do it without the help of my brothers. You know what I mean? So I chose the route of MLW, and it was fun and it worked out for me. I got to do a lot of cool things there.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, and he became a three-time middleweight champion. And like it was, I
Yeah.
always loved MLW just for the way they kind of phrase things. They were doing kind of sports type wrestling before AEW kind of became into the foreground. But even like labeling things the middleweight champion rather than a light heavyweight or cruiserweight, it just sounds cooler. The
Yeah.
presentation, the belts, and everything. Like the guys you were facing on that stage, like you're facing, he won the title from Teddy Hart, and like. I don't know if
Yeah.
he's clinically insane, but like even that's pretty cool given his track record. Then you're facing the likes of
Yeah.
Laredo Kid, another AAA guys. What was that initial run like for you?
Laredo Kid's awesome. I've got to work with him quite a few times.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Like pretty much, that reign, those 3 reigns or whatever, I did get to work a lot of cool people, like a lot of people that helped me get better. Especially like Leo. Leo Rush was like one of the bigger
Yeah.
stories that helped me like get a lot better because I was kind of coming into my own thing, like doing my own thing there. Like I was finally like figuring out what I wanted to do and stuff like that. And I think the match hit like right, like it blew up right when it needed to.
Yeah, like even that run you had with Rio when you kind of dropped the title to him, then you kind of win it back from him later on. That must have been a huge, like I suppose, sense of gratification. Like I've decided to step out on my own, to kind of go on my own beaten path. I'm on television on a weekly basis. I'm defending the title against these huge stars, legends as well. Like you obviously faced Tajiri later on. What was that like? I suppose
Yeah.
just that personal satisfaction.
See, man, I'm over here like thinking about it. I'm just like, and I forgot about that too. I got to work with him twice, and that was like so cool because like a lot of people don't know this, but the whole pants thing that I do now, like the inspiration was from Rey Mysterio and Tajiri.
Okay.
The flames on the pants was
Yeah.
Tajiri for sure. The actual pants idea was Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
Man, like it was the first time I remember, I was just like, I gotta take the miss. I gotta get. I was like, gotta take the miss, man. And I got lucky, and it happened. So
That was
got
amazing.
green all
Like
over my face.
you face them numerous times. Like obviously, then like you face legends of the scene. Then you face like the likes of a part of like four ways. So you face Matt Cross. Like obviously, a lot
Yeah,
of from this part of the world mightn't be as familiar with his work, but like they may be able to reference it
nice,
as tough
huge.
enough or whatnot. Or like even Bandito's part of that. Like and you're thrown in against
Yeah,
somebody who's going to become very big under a different name, Aramis. Seen a lot of really cool opponents then. What was there a plateau within MLW because you're a three-time MLW champion at that stage you were never kind of being pushed in towards kind of the heavyweight scene or kind of world title scene.
That's yeah, it was like I don't know, I felt like I was heading in the direction pretty much of like being like the Ric Flair of like the middleweight division where it just win the belt a million times. And I was like, man, I don't want to do that. I want to show that I'm willing to put the work in the gym. I'm willing to get bigger and work harder and do whatever I need to do to get to that next stage. And I felt like I was doing all those things. I was gaining weight and getting bigger and getting better in the ring, period. I feel like I was one of the best, if not the best competitor during my time at MOW. And yeah, man, I just felt like I wasn't given the opportunity. So, and then eventually I felt like they were trying to put me in like a backseat role. And I was just like, man, I want to be my own man. Let's test the water. So, they granted me the release and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, and as cool as the middleweight division is and was, like again, you're like if you're getting pigeonholed in terms of this is what I do, this is what I can't, and without being getting your limits pushed, I suppose that can be kind of frustrating more than anything. You apply that to any kind of line of work as well. Like you did leave MLW then, like kind of the start of last year, January 2023. Obviously, I don't know if I think I read this recently. You were talking about what you're actually being kind of compensated by in MLW. You were earning more in the indies. Like, was that an easy enough decision then to kind of step away and then kind of build your own name, brand, and working with the likes of GCW, obviously, and different other bigger promotions?
yeah. Like that's usually a big thing with me. Like I don't want to be tied down to something if I can go out and be on my own and make that back plus more. You know what I mean? So when I was at MLW, I think it was after you can't really 100% blame them because all of this happened during the pandemic and all of that stuff, and they were only running like 6 or 7 times a year. You know what I mean? And it's like I'm under contract. I can't go and do anything else, and I'm only like guaranteed these 6 or 7 dates. You know what I mean? And I was working I was grinding on the indies too. So I was probably doing that in 1 month, on the indies, including that. So it's like I'm doing 7 of these in 1 month and 7 a year, like, for
Yeah.
this contract. So everything just started adding up. I was like, at least I'm not getting the proper exposure I want or the push I want. I'm not really getting the money I want. And, I'm kind of trapped and tied down here. So like, that's really what drove me to just be like, look, man, I really do appreciate you guys for giving me the opportunity, but, I want to try and test myself in bigger things.
Yeah, but it's amazing the amount of guys like off the back of COVID in particular. Like, wrestling's in a sense a strange space because like you're technically independent contractors, but you're not if you're contracted
Yeah.
somewhere, you're not independent. Do you know what I mean? It's a really weird thing that like you
Yeah.
can get the bookings, but we need approval, all these kind of things as well. But then obviously you're working with GCW and there's a number of different guys like Matt Cardona is doing the same. He's never locked down to
Yeah.
anywhere either. It's funny you're kind of at the forefront of a really cool movement in wrestling where people don't necessarily need to be locked down to a contract. They don't need to be given guarantees. They can go out and earn their own independent money and not being held accountable. Well, not held accountable, but not being held against them as such. Is that a conscious thing within, I suppose,
Yeah.
wrestlers of your generation?
Um, Honestly, we're just very fortunate. Like, and I don't know, I feel like back in the territory days, like you couldn't really do this stuff, but now like just wrestling is just so like for everyone. And the contracts and all this stuff are allowing us to go out there and still make money and go out there and get more exposure and experience on top of what we're already getting with the company. So for me, it's more like I have a goal. I want to go to a place that I'm able to take care of my family and enjoy what I'm doing and challenge myself at the same time and not like give myself the short end of the stick. So like if I'm gonna sign anywhere, man, it's gotta be worth it. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like I don't wanna just lock my like sell my soul pretty much
yeah.
to not really get what it's worth. You know what I mean?
Wow. No, 100% understand that. Like, you kind of you encompass that this year when you or last year rather when you made your debut with TNA. Like that was really really cool when you get to reunite with obviously your mates from the Rascals
Yeah.
and whatnot. You also made your in-ring debut at Bound for Glory. Like that's their kind of premier event year
Very
round.
cool.
That's I was a huge TNA fan growing up in this part of the world. I just remember vividly
Thing.
the Bound for Glory series back in the day.
Yeah.
What was that like? Just being told like, okay, you're gonna debut for us in ring, and it's gonna be at our biggest show of the year. Like, as a vote of confidence, what's that like for you as a performer?
Man, I was just really excited to get the team with my brothers again. Like I said, I went with MLW, and we had done like a couple indie like tag teams, but we hadn't really got on like we like were like we wanted to get on together at some point. And that moment in TNA was really cool. The Bound for Glory thing was awesome too, because a big weekend, a lot of eyes on it.
That's huge. No, yeah, and like, what was it like, kind of reuniting with your brothers to say that? Like, I mean, a lot of your fan base would be aware, obviously, your CZW and independent history before you went to MLW, then went to Impact Wrestling. But I say a lot of fans who are watching TNA might necessarily have had that detail. They might have thought you were a new member. What was that like? What was the kind of feedback like externally from fans or even internally within Impact?
Honestly, a lot of people kind of already knew. Like, I feel like before I came back there, me and Trey was teaming.
Yeah.
Like, while Zach and Dez were in WWE, we were teaming on the Indies still, kind of like keeping that thing going. Like at PWG and West Coast Pro. There's
Yeah.
other big places we were working at, but like, uh, we kept the thing going pretty much. Like, not just like on the Indies, not like
Yeah.
globally or on TV or anything like that. So when we brought it to TV, the internet's crazy, man. Like 75% of the people already knew what was going on. Like the other 25, like the people that knew filled them in. So like it's really cool.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
I love watching live. And then even when you came back this year and like getting to see in a ring with like the full blooded Italians, like you get to see like Lil Guido and Nunzio. So like as somebody who's born in the 90s, seeing Nunzio in a ring, it's always cool. So what was that like? I don't know if
Yeah.
you're a big ECW or early WWE fan when he was Nunzio as such. What was that like getting to interact with him?
Oh man, I watched them on TV when I was a kid. So like just this stuff is just crazy. Like Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy being there and watching Kazarian and those guys that I was watching as a teenager. Like TNA was my shit, man, when I was
Yeah.
like 13, 14, 15. Like I loved Chris Sabin and Jeff Hardy. Like so that was like a really cool experience. It's pretty much like the Tajiri experience. Like it's just like getting to meet people that you watched and that made you feel something. You know what I mean? So getting to work with them, like kind of like as a pat on the back too. Like, hey man, you're doing the right thing. Like you're killing it.
Spot on. I mean, like yourself, I was a huge TNA fan. The first wrestling shows I ever saw in person were TNA house shows here in Ireland. And I like
Yeah,
yourself, the Motor Machine Guns in particular, kind of blew my mind. I chatted to Alex Shelley a couple of weeks ago, and they're the loveliest people in the world as well, which makes it
crazy.
all the cooler.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you're not contracted with TNA currently, but do you have any kind of goals or plans to kind of be more involved with them in the future, short term, long term, or any particular opponents you'd have lined up in your mind?
Um, for me, like you were saying earlier, with us being able to like just do whatever, like being a free agent, man, I love working with TNA. If they want to hit me back up, I'm down to work there again. So wherever I'm open to work anywhere. You know what I mean?
Awesome, awesome. But what was that like? I mean, obviously, your partners have become big, massive news last week by appearing in NXT. What was that like? I suppose as a friend and a brother, what was that like? How happy were you for them? And was there any like part of you was like, oh shit, I wish I was there too?
So yeah, man. When I seen them come out, I cried. I seen my eyes like watering up. Like it's a really cool experience just to know that like pretty much what both of them went through.
Mm.
Because while they were going through it, I'm the one like talking to them. They're talking to each other. Like it's just like it's a lot of going through shit and finally making it to where you deserve to be at was really cool to see. And as far as like I wish I was there too type thing. Of course, I wish I was there, but I know that everything that they're doing right now, they got it under control. And if they need me, they'll call me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really happy for them. Like I said, I'm the youngest one, and I got time. I got time, and I'm just growing. So when my time does come, I'm ready. You know what I
Hold
mean?
on. I mean, even like on top of that, then like, you're obviously with your wrestling career, you obviously got your music career as well, like as Kid Reed, and
Yeah.
like obviously a while ago you were able to incorporate other wrestlers into one of your videos, like that all night video with Killer Kelly. Like, how cool has that been able
Yeah.
to be, like in terms of incorporating your colleagues for what it's worth, and then being able to use a wrestling platform to promote your other kind of artistic endeavors?
It's actually really cool because since forever. Like music and wrestling have went so well together, and a lot of different genres of music that I probably wouldn't know. Like I learned from wrestling, and made me, wrestling made me go and explore that more. So like just being a fan of alternative fucking rap and just heavy metal, rock, like all those different all the different stuff they used back in the day, man, like in the early 2000s and mid 2000s, I became a big fan of, and I still go back and listen to that stuff, the music from the video games and stuff like that. Like I'm a huge fan of music, I'm a huge fan of wrestling, and I'm blessed enough pretty much to be able to take care of and pay my bills from wrestling. So um and invest in other things and in what I need to invest in. So, why not? Why not do whatever you want to,
That's
whatever
awesome, man.
makes you happy, you know what I mean?
And he's able to follow two different passions once and be able to leverage one or the other to kind of do a cross promotion. Like there are other wrestlers in space doing it, like Swerve Strickland and whatnot as well. So this man,
Yeah, there's a lot of other people.
there's a lot of people and it's hugely inspiring. It's really cool. And like, again, like say 10, 20 years ago, that might have been frowned upon, but like we're in a time now whereby again, you're independent contractor, you can kind of do what you want and you're using that to the fullest extent, building up your own brand as an independent contractor. So like I'm sure rest people from this part of the world who may have musical interests or other artistic endeavors find that hugely impressive as well, man. But listen, you do have a huge weekend coming up this week with GCW, but you also got a huge August with GCW. Like you guys are traveling over to Tokyo for another 3 days there. So what's like? Are you anything in your mind there? Obviously going to be partnering up with DDT for a show. Do you have any other kind of opponents or things in mind for those shows ahead?
So I'm not going to Japan with GCW, but I do have a lot of other stuff lined up with them. Like every time they're in my area or whatever, like whether it's, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, awesome. Tennessee, they hit me up. So yeah, this weekend's going to be freaking dope. And I wish success to them in Japan and stuff like that. But hey, yeah, if anything, hit me up. I'm down. I got my passport.
Awesome. No, listen, Myron, you've been hugely generous with your time. I do appreciate that. So again, will say I'm hugely excited for this weekend for you. Obviously, you're going to walk in for Thursday night, become GCW World Champion, then take on the former Reggie Scripps, whatever he wants to call him. He wants to be a wine connoisseur or whatever he is while serving you wine as GCW World Champion. That'd be brilliant. They can do your victory lap on Saturday then against Jack Carter. I'm hugely excited for it, my friend.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, manifesting it.
100%. If any fans of this part of the world, is there anywhere they can find you online aside from Twitter or Instagram? Is there any projects else you want to plug before we finish up here?
Facts, man. So you guys can follow me on Instagram. It's Reed's World. Of course, Facebook, Myron Reed, and Twitter, The Bad Reed. It's a lot of different ones, but I'm there though. I'm on there.
Reed is the
music, all that stuff's on there. Promos, anything you want to see, any place you want to get to, where it's YouTube, the Spotify, the music, like it's all linked in and tapped in through there. So just tap in for sure.
Awesome. Listen, my friend, you're absolutely killing it, and I can't wait to see your future success the rest of the summer.
Appreciate you having me on, man.
No problem. Cheers. Thank you.